The whole concept that the three pyramids at Giza are in a special alignment of Orion's belt is very interesting, and this would seem to indicate that Orion was the destination for the Stargate that they were building at Giza.
Why does the Great Pyramid have air shafts that point to Orion? Is it possible they served as a kind of intergalactic gateway between the Earth and Orion? And if so, might this be further proof of our extraterrestrial origins? There are those who believe clues can be found in the middle of the Nubian Desert, where researchers have discovered what may be the world's oldest megalithic complex pointing to Orion. Southern Egypt, 500 miles south of Cairo, on a desolate plain in the eastern region of the Sahara Desert, lies the mysterious archaeological site known as Nabta Playa. Discovered by a team of scientists in 1974, researchers believe the megalithic stones scattered here were once part of a vast and complex ritual center for an ancient civilization that thrived from 6400 to 3400 BC, just before the rise of the Egyptians.
We knew that there were many prehistoric sites in the Sahara, in this part of the Egyptian desert. What Nabta Playa is different is that it wasn't a settlement. It was clearly a ceremonial site, and a very intriguing one, and it had strange things. One of the centerpieces is a circle that has been called the mini Stonehenge of the desert.
For more than 3 decades, this circular stone structure and its intricate alignment to the belt stars of the Orion constellation have baffled archaeologists.
The builders of Nabta Playa seem to be aware of a level of physics and understandings of mathematics that they interlined into these structures, which clearly say they possessed some advanced knowledge of the constellations.
Engineer Robert Bivall and astrophysicist Thomas Brophy have studied the configuration of this mysterious monument for more than 10 years. In their book, Black Genesis, they suggest the stone circle is a star viewing diagram that aligns with the belt stars of Orion at the summer solstice.
The counter circle is this smaller stone arrangement, and the megalithic alignments point to stars. Now, the calendar circle, we think, represents a diagram that teaches how the sky moves long term. What we're looking at right here is a small mock-up of the actual calendar circle of Nabta Playa. These actual stones would come up to about your knee, and the whole circle would be about 12 feet across or so. And there are these 2 sets of gates on the outer parts of the circle. And this gate is pointing towards where the summer solstice sun rises.
According to mainstream scientists, radiocarbon dating indicates the site was constructed nearly 7,000 years ago. Taking this time frame into account, Brophy studied the positioning of the gates and the center stones and discovered that it was then, in 4900 BC, when 3 of the center stones lined up precisely with 3 of the brightest stars in the constellation of Orion.
If we look up in the sky at that time, these 3 stones right here, they represent the Orion's belt stars exactly as they were seen at that time. So the idea is the stones represent a map of the stars in the sky.
Is it really possible, as some researchers believe, that the stones of Nabta Playa correspond with the alignment of Orion's belt as observed just before the summer solstice 7,000 years ago? If so, why and how would ancient man have created such an advanced diagram of this constellation? Mysteriously, the inhabitants of Nabta Playa vanished around 3400 BC. Some researchers believe they migrated 60 miles east, where Egypt's Nile Valley civilizations emerged in the 4th century BC.
The astronomy from Nabta Playa was exactly the same astronomy that the pyramid builders. So suddenly what we thought was original to the pharaohs was pushed back now to these prehistoric people thousands of years before. We call them the star people, we have no idea where they came from, that lived in the Sahara when it was fertile for thousands of years before the pyramid builders. We went to try and trace their origins, and we've taken the track all the way now to the extreme southwest of Egypt. We've actually seen those people, believe it or not. They left us drawings in caves. Some of them look pretty strange. They're very tall, slender people, with a very strange head. Now, whether this is artistic representation, I don't know, but they're certainly very mysterious.
Who are the star people? And why was the exact location of Orion so important to them? Were they simply another advanced ancient civilization lost to time? Or could it be possible that the star people of Nabta Playa were literally visitors from another world? Perhaps a deeper understanding of Orion can be found here, in the ruins of one of the most astronomically advanced ancient civilizations. Central Mexico. Just 35 miles northeast of Mexico City lie the ruins of Teotihuacan, an ancient city that sprawled 7 square miles and was once inhabited by more than 150,000 people. Researchers believe the impressive structures here, including 2 large pyramids and a temple, were built by the Mayans in the 2nd century BC. And like the Egyptian pyramids of Giza, the monuments point directly to the 3 stars of Orion's belt.
And this is not coincidental. The layout of the pyramids of Teotihuacan are in the formation of Orion's belt. The Mayans are very specific about Orion's belt. They say it is a point of creation. It is said that in 3114 BC, the gods came from the heavens to earth in a convention. And this convention occurred in Teotihuacan.
You find many of these so-called Orion correlations in many other cultures. And surprisingly, some of these ancient structures not only form the image of Orion on the ground, but they are based on units of measurements that somehow correlate. There seems to be some sort of link. It's a very complex subject, and it's very intriguing.
But how could there be similar structures pointing to Orion, built by civilizations located thousands of miles apart? Was it just a cosmic coincidence that both the Egyptians and the Mayans revered the same constellation? Or could there really be a connection between Orion and the birth of mankind?
There might be a celestial plan developed by an ancient civilization that's long gone. And that's why we find all these Orion correlations in various spots all over the globe. Because a single source at one time distributed this kind of mythological material all over the world.
It's possible that the structures that we see on Earth that are aligned with Orion were created that way because the extraterrestrials that came from Orion directed the builders to do that. They would do that so that we would remember the place where these beings came from, and also to align ourselves with the energies coming from Orion.
Could these monuments in Egypt and Central America really have been built to commemorate mankind's celestial origins, as some researchers suggest? Or is it possible there is an even more profound explanation for these advanced alignments? Perhaps not only to honor our star ancestors, but also to reconnect with them in the future. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and that the ultimate proof can be found half a world away.